Today I woke to a grinding, screeching sound that was loud enough that it invaded my dreams. And on waking, it was even louder. And then I took all the dogs outside for a walk. And what it was is every year, the power company comes through the area and cuts down trees and under the power lines and runs a wood chipper. And there are two interesting things about this. One of them is that the corporation that they hire every year to cut down the trees is called Trees Inc. And have you ever thought about how many companies or organizations or bureaucracies name themselves after that which they're destroying, and or those whom they're destroying, I guess is better. So you have Trees Inc., you have the U.S. Forest Service, you have Weyerhaeuser calls itself a tree growing company, and on. You have subdivisions called, roaming deer when there are no longer deer there. You have, I don't know, majestic maples that when there are no longer majestic maples there were before. So that was half of the story I was thinking. And the other half of the story I was thinking is about how important music was to my life up until my early 40s when I moved. I'm now at my mom's house, and for almost 20 years I lived farther into the forest. And before I moved here, I listened to music pretty constantly at home. And I didn't realize until I'd been here for 6 months or a year that I no longer really, music is still important to me. And I think music can be beautiful and extraordinary. But I also realized that when I lived in Spokane, for example, or before that, one reason I was listening to music so often is that in Spokane, I lived about 400 yards from the interstate. And so I was, in fact, listening to music to drown out mechanical sounds. And if this tree chipper was running all the time here, I would certainly be listening to music all the time. But I think often about how this culture not only destroys habitat, but it destroys soundscape, and it destroys the delicate, sometimes delicate, but never horrible sounds of nature. And how, we evolved through our entire history hearing this symphony of who knows who, of hermit thrushes and red-legged frogs and Pacific tree frogs. Actually, red-legged frogs are, their call is sort of subsonic for us. And the sounds of wind in the trees, and the sounds of crows and jays. And I think often that we are one of only 4 or 5 generations that will ever hear the sound of a 2-cycle engine. And how delighted I and everyone except some will be when the last 2-cycle engine sound that ever occurs is gone. Then we won't need to mask out all these sounds